All right. Good morning once again. Welcome to DGTSC Hub, an online tech training platform. So we stopped at, I think we just concluded an aspect of data analysis with Python. Remember when I started, I said there are about 3 different types of analysis that we can actually perform with Python. Outside the data cleaning or data inspection that we discuss, we have 3 segments of analysis. The very first one is the selection techniques. That is what data analysis using certain Python inbuilt functions or techniques to select data, which is more of data filtering. And as you can see from the presentation of the assignment, you were able to draw some conclusions regarding to the insights you have been able to derive from the data just by using those selection techniques. So the second phase, which is the phase that we are dealing with throughout in this section, I hope I'll be able to start it and finish it as well. So we will now know that will remain the last phase. So the phase we are going to look at is data aggregation. Data aggregation. So that is the topic for this section, data aggregation. Data aggregation. Analysis. Data aggregation analysis. So let me mark it down. Data aggregation analysis. Now, what do we mean by data aggregation? This is simply the descriptive analysis that we've spoken about before now. Because remember, we did mention that descriptive analysis is the type of data analysis where at the end of your analysis, question like what happened arises. So which means that there will be some discovery, there will be some observations that will cause some differences between the variables involved that will lead to wanting to know why one of the variable probably would perform better. So this set of functions are very, very important. In fact, if you are going to use Python for business analytics, that is what? Analyzing business data, or financial analysis, analyzing financial data, you are going to definitely involve this set of aggregate function. If you check what we did under data selection techniques of filtering, there was no place where we were adding. There was no place where we were probably subtracting. There was no place. So everything we were doing was just filtering, selecting, filtering, selecting. So, but this session is focusing on summarizing data with Python statistical functions, such as the sum. We are going to start from general summary. That is the one without using a condition, and then we'll advance to the single condition, and then finally we round it up with the multiple conditional statistical functions. So let's start with let's start by knowing what is data aggregation. What is data aggregation? Let's start from there. What is data aggregation in the field of data analytics? When the term data aggregation is mentioned, what does that mean to us? So data aggregation is the process of gathering or combining data from multiple sources. That is talking about the data wrongly. But we are looking at it from the angle of we have our data here and we want to gather what insights from different probably features within the data set. So just to explain it further, like I said, data aggregation is the process of gathering and combining data from multiple sources into a single unified view. So this helps to provide insights. So that is going to be the benefits. That is going to be our targets. What exactly are we looking up to? We want to use this set of functions to derive what? Insights. That is what? Actionable conclusions. Trend. We want to be able to use this set of functions to identify trends within our reports. And then, of course, the patterns, that is what? The way the trend changes that might not be visible from individual data points. So our objective is very clear, like I've just highlighted. At the end of the day, we want to see how we can use this set of functions to present actionable what? Findings or insight, and also to find out trends within our data set. All right, so when you are given a very large data set, you're trying to cite the necessity of this function. Because, for example, if you are given, let's say 500, 600, 700 as a data set or values, and you are asked to sum them up, you can easily use your calculator or your phone to punch that, and then you get the answer. But the moment the volume of the data becomes so much that, let's assume we have up to 1 million, for you to start adding 1 million value before you get the result, that is going to look very cumbersome. So that is why this set of functions for summarizing large data sets are recommended for you and I as data analysts that uses Python. So we're going to start with the first one and look at the examples. So example of these functions, like I said, example of this function, but first under general summary. It means the very first level of them we want to start with does not require condition or criteria for the summary. So I'm categorizing them into 3 groups. So example of general Python aggregate function. So number 1, we're starting with the sum. Number 1, let's look at the summation function. And then we will see how, as data analysts, we will twist this particular function to answer valid analysis questions. So we are not just learning their function. We want to see how, if we are given a data set to analyze, what are the possible insights we can actually draw from the data using any of these functions. So let me start by defining or explaining the perfect scenario for using the sum function. So when a large number of data are given to you, and sometimes you need to solve the total. For example, if I'm working with the data we have here, which is data 1. So let me just use that data 1. So if you look at this data, you will understand that we have numbers header like total here. We have total, and then I'm very sure that we have revenue somewhere. We have total, we have good, we have gross income here. We have gross income here. Now, supposing we are asked to analyze the total sum of the gross income. In other words, the company wants to know how much they have generated as overall from the entire transactions. So that kind of question is a single metric value answer you are going to get, which means that you are going to get one number, one line result that says 1 million or 5 million or 1,000. So now looking at the question, like I said, we are going to use question to explain, analysis question to explain all these functions. So the first question, the analysis question for the application of the sum function, let's assume from the sales inventory data sets, analyze sum total of gross income. Analyze the subtotal of gross income. So this is the analysis question. Now, this question involves using the sum function. So we'll look at the syntax, How do we use the sum function to answer this question? So let me still have it here. I'm trying to have everything in one place. Okay. So now, now to answer the question, the syntax is going to be, let me do it in the next cell. Let me say solution here. So to answer the question, we want a situation whereby we will store the results we are going to get in a valid variable so that we can reference it in the course of analysis within this sheet or within this notebook. So which means that I don't want to just display the results. I want the results to be stored in a particular object within the Python. So which means that I have to give that a description. So I will say sum underscore total underscore let's say gross income. Let me merge them together. Gross income is equals to. Now you start by referencing the data sets where you have the gross income as one of the header or feature. So the data set we are working with is data 1. Now remember, under the selection techniques, we talk about a particular bracket that denotes that you are picking from a whole container, which is the square bracket. So which means you are saying that from data 1 data sets, we want to pick a particular column that we want to sum up all the values under it. That is what you are saying. And then once you have already imputed your selection bracket, which means that you are ready to pick, then you recognize that header as a string. That is why I am putting it in the quotation. Now, I advise that you copy the header to avoid typographical errors. So I will copy Ctrl+C because that is the the header that was mentioned in my question, that I should sum up all the value in gross income. So I'll paste it here. Make sure that you remove the space. So what we have done, if I stop here now, is going to perform an analysis, but we have not concatenated the function that will do the summary. What we have done is that, okay, focus on the values under this particular feature out of all the headers or features in the data set. Now, so what do you want to do with the value you have selected? You will now say concatenate. That period means you want to attach the function that will do something with the values under the selected what header. So you now bring in the sum, and then the sum should have its parentheses bracket. So once I run it, the results has been computed and stored in my data object. So for me to see the result, I'll simply type what the name of the data object and then run it. So this is the result. So you go to your observation, probably maybe PowerPoint, where you are writing your observation as you are performing each of these analysis, and notes this particular value there. I hope that is clear, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So just make sure that you are writing down your syntax. After some time, I will allow you to share your screen and perform them as well. So that is for summation. Now you can see the reason why I said these ones that are the first category of these aggregate functions I'm focusing on. They are general aggregate function. Why did I refer to them as general? You can see that we simply added everything under gross income. There was no condition. We'll get to a point whereby there will not be condition, that is sum up the same value under the gross income where payment method is e-wallet, which means that the question then will not be that we are no longer summing everything under gross income. We are only summing values under gross income that the payment method are equals to what? E-wallet. Then that is what condition. They will not continue to, okay, sum up of value under gross income equals to where payment is equals to e-wallet and total greater than a particular what value. You can see you are now advancing to multiple criteria. So these are a set of questions, analysis that you are expected to know how to perform with this set of functions. So we are still on the general one. Now, the next one I want to look at is the average aggregate function. The average aggregate function. The average aggregate function.
Sorry, sir. Bring the this first code down. Let me get it from. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. So now let's look at how we can also apply average in answering analysis question also. How we can use average to draw actionable insights from our data set. So let's start with the definition of average. Now, in Python, there is no function. In Python, there is no inbuilt function called average. What we have is mean. So instead of calling it average, we are going to reference it as what? Mean. So we need to get that noted first. So now, what is mean or average? So the mean or the average of data sets is found by adding all numbers in the data set then dividing by the number of values in the data set. It's just like the way we were taught in secondary school. So if I give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers to find their average or find their mean, what you are going to do is simply taking them one after the other, adding them together, and then divide by the number of what values here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is how we are going to get the mean. So now what we are saying is that behind the scene, Python is going to add all the values under the what? Under the gross income, which is this, which we amount to this, and divide it by the total number of what? Entries. So the difference between sum now and the average is that sum we only add them together and give you the outcome, just like we have seen here. Then while mean, we add them together, that which the sum did, we perform it and still divide it by so. So let's say our analysis question is what is the total average or mean of gross income? So let's assume this is the analysis question. So the syntax is going to be the same syntax, but we are changing the function. So we'll start by creating, let's say what, average total is equals to, then the data set name, data 1. From data 1, you are selecting the same, the gross income. So let me just quickly take it from here. See? Then after that, instead of concatenating sum, you just concatenate mean. Right? If you run it, you get your answer. I hope there's no error. So gross income, so our spelling is not correct somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, so just correct it by adding a, run it. So we get our answer. Now to view the answer, we simply call the object name, which is the AV tab, to display the full name, and then press Shift and Enter. So we get, so this is the average. This is the average. Okay, so now it means that the summation of this divided by the total number of record, if you check, which we can see the total number of record. So if you want to do the total number, if you want to check whether Python is correct, let's quickly do something. Now, if I do data 1, part of what we have learned before, data 1 shape. You still remember this? The shape will tell us there are 1,000 records, which means that if I take the value I got here and divide it manually by 100 by 1,000, this is what I'm going to get. So what is the value I got in the case of sum? So I will just take this. If I want to get it faster, let me just type SUM and then tab to display the keyword, and then divide it by 1,000. Divide it by 1,000. You see that what? You get that same value that you got when you apply what mean, just to confirm that your mean is correct. I hope that is clear, sir.
Yes, please let me see the code again. Sorry, a bit. Hold on, so. All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. So so that is for me and sum. So we still have one more aggregate function, the one that have to do with counting. So let's look at counts application. Let me make them sound better. Application of counts function for data analysis. Application of count function for data analysis. So now here, there are also valid analysis questions that we can actually derive with the count function. For example, you perform total sum of gross income and you came out with this value. Now, for the company to draw certain conclusion or to make certain decision, or even you, before you draw your conclusion, which will form your executive reports, there is need for you to know how many transactions were made that generated what? This particular value. It will, if you present that statistics alongside with the summation, I believe it will guide the company better. So we want to have an idea of how many transactions generated that same summation of gross income. So our analysis question will be analyze the total number of transactions. So the syntax will be, I could just say this one is counts total, count total, maybe entries, and then equals to. The same way, we reference the data set name data1. From data1, we are selecting a particular header as the criteria for the counting. So we are still working with the, I don't know if the one I copy is still there. Good. So we are still working with the gross income as the criteria for the counting. But this time around, we attach count function, and then we run it. So to see the outcome, I'll simply type CO and tab to display the keyword, and then pick the one I want and then enter. So we have 1,000, like we saw there. So we have 1,000 entries that actually what, or 1,000 transactions that are generated that total sum of gross income. So I believe that is also clear to you. So there are some other in between analysis that can come in with all these values you have derived. For example, somebody may want to know, okay, if we divide the average, it might not be suitable to the scenario we are working with, but I'm just trying to, there could be a data set you are working with where you have performed this set of aggregate analysis and you have stored their values in different storage. Then you can use the value in one storage to multiply the value in another storage, or use the value in one storage to subtract value in another storage. So that just like what I did here now. So that was the reason why I advised that we should not just be displaying them. We should be storing them, so that if not that I store the summation in a valid data object, it would have been possible for me to say, okay, I want to check whether Python was correct by computing this. I hope that is clear, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I don't know if you have been doing it alongside with me. So, but if you have been doing it, I want a different data, not this very one. So I'm giving you 10 minutes, you share your screen, and then I want you to perform different analysis. Some should be with the sum. If you want to take them one, fine. Just for me to confirm that before we go into the intermediate, the one with single criteria. This same function we are going to use, but this time around, we are going to be attaching a criteria, one criteria before they can sum of value. So you can share your screen. I think I've enabled you to share. Let me stop sharing. And then whatever you have to be communicating so that I can follow you up. You can share your screen now, sir.
Okay. That is why I decided to sum the clocks. So doing that, following the, so want to store it in sum total, sum underscore total underscore clocks. So the data set, this is the data frame name. So, okay, so for me to get the answer, so I want to get the answer.
All right.
So when it's giving me this.
Okay.
So the same operation, just like we did to get the average. So the only thing I need to do here is to change this to me.
Right. So let's proceed. You can stop sharing. Thank you very much. So we will continue with the second type of analysis you can perform with this same set of aggregate functions. Now, the one we just concluded now, remember I refer to them as summarizing value without any condition. You are simply adding everything in the specified feature. Now, let's look at a situation whereby we want to sum up all the value. A situation whereby we want to sum up the values. That's same like this same question we are answering, but not for all the. Let's look at the data set again. Let's look at the data set, but the topic is data aggregation. With single criteria, So here we are still using the same set of functions. Like I said, we are using sum. We are still going to use counts. We are still going to use average or mean rather, but we are targeting using them to answer multiple or sorry, single criteria question. Now, let me call the data so that we can consider some variable we can actually use them to answer. Now, if you look at this data set, let's focus on total now. Let's focus on total. Let's focus on total. So if I do data 1, brackets, total, just for us to focus on it. Now, all these values here, we want to sum them up, but the summation of any of the value here will be based on the selected country. So the analysis we want to perform is that now that we have an idea of the total sum from all the country, we have the counting of the entire entry from all the country. We want to give a more detailed analysis. That is, we want to analyze the total. I think I should align it with the same gross income so that it will tally. So now we want to perform that same analysis. We want to sum up the gross income per country. So let's say the first question will be, analyze the sum total of gross income per country. That is, we are taking the country one after the other. We are not listing them at once. So that is now, for example, we are going to start with Yangon. We are going to start with Yangon City. So let's assume that, so we are working with city rather instead of country. I think it should be city. I thought the header is country. So it's city. So our first analysis question is, the company wants to know the sum of gross income, for Yangon City. Then we will do for Yangon City, we will do for Mandalay, we will also do for Napitor, because at the end of the day, when we want to write our conclusion, we should be able to inform the organization the performance of each of these cities. At the end of the day, we should tell them which of the city is actually generating more income, so that when they want to make a decision, they will know. You want to ask question? Hello?
No.
Okay. So, so the first question will be, like I said, we are answering this question. We are starting with Yangon. So just to make it more practical, I'll say, what is the total gross income generated from Yangon City? So the criteria here now is one criteria. The summary of gross income is based on when a Yangon City is selected. So here, we are not just going to use the square bracket selection technique. We are involving another function, which is called query. So the main, here we are combining, let me see if I can put it right in. So combining query. So this is the function we are bringing in, combining query and the selection technique. Selection technique. Now, which means that the center for answering that question is going to be, I'll start by creating a data object name. That is, I still want to store the outcome in a valid variable. So based on the question, I will say sum underscore gross underscore, let me add it together, gross income. Let me just put Yagon. I can as well just say Yagon. I just want it to be more descriptive. Equals to, then you reference the data set, which is data 1. Then you will now concatenate the name of that data with the function, which is what? Query. Now, since query is a function, you have to open it parenthesis bracket to receive its input. And what is the input? The input is the header that contains the criteria value. If you look at the question, we have to perform analysis that we bring out the total sum of gross income for only Yangon City. So Yangon City is the criteria range in which the value for the summary is. So which means that we use a single string, first single string, not double string, to envelope both the header mentioning and the criteria. So the header that constitutes, or the header in which the value for your summary, the condition for the summary is, that is what you call. Now, if you look at the question now, Yangon is a value under city. So what I'm going to call is this city. So I will say what? City, the way it is in the data set. Then you will now say equals to. I think we talked about all these operators before. Equals to. Then you will now open the double string. So you can see that this single string is enveloping what? Everything. Both the criteria range, header, and the criteria specification. So the criteria here is Yangon. So I'll take Yangon the way it is from the data set and put it inside the double string. Then after that, what this will do is to select set of record that are equals to this criteria, assemble them. Now, if I run it like this, let me take this one off first. If I run this particular command, it will perform an analysis. Now, the analysis this has performed is that at the moment, just like filtering. So if I come here and do something like this, if I come here and do something like this, and I run it, you see that what? This is just like you filter only what? Only the Yangon from the data. So that is to confirm that this from where I am right now is to select all the records where city is equals to what? Yangon. So the next question, what do we want to do with them? The reason why we ask the command to select them because we want to add the value under what? The gross income of this set of selected value. So which means that I have to come and concatenate. I will do the dot sum to this outcome or to the variable name. And then if I run it, you see that what? It will give me a kind of a breakdown per this. Now, while we are getting this, we are supposed to add it here because we have not selected that particular column. So adding it here will not give us what we wanted. So let me put it here. So you now come here and use the square bracket, just like what we did first when we were dealing with the general aggregation. So you select, so you can give the function a focus that out of this entire record that you have pulled out, it's not all of them that I'm dealing with. I want you to add value under one of them, and you specify that one inside the selection bracket, which is what? The gross income. So let me copy it from here, Control C, and then I come back here paste it here. Then after that, you still have one more thing to do. Okay, so what will happen to the values under this? What will happen to the values under this? You say you should sum them up by adding what? The sum function. So this is now the complete syntax. So if I run it now, you see that what that has outputted 5,005, 5,000 and what? That is 5,057. So you can see it that we have been able to answer that question. Any question? So I will allow you to perform
No.
your own before we proceed. So just perform. So share your screen and answer the same question if you have copied the code. I don't want to take three of them at once so that we will not be lost. Just are you done with the question copy so that I can switch to your screen?
Hold on, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir, you can shift the screen.
All right, so you can switch, you can share your screen.
Okay. Oh.
If you have to be telling us what you are doing, the question you
Okay,
are answering.
so want to do for Mandalay. Yes, sir.
I'm with you.
Okay, what I want to do now is to get the gross income from the city called Mandalay. So that is what I want to do here. So um, I'm using I want to store it under, I want to store the output here. Sorry. Oh, come on. My system is freezing up. Uh, mm, I don't know what is wrong. The system is.
Have you executed it?
No, no, no. I've not executed it. I just wanted to continue from here rather than writing it afresh. I copied and changed the um,
Okay.
meters I needed to change, but the system is gone. I don't know from the data set. So some gross income underscore Mandalay. I want to store it under this data frame. So this is the data frame where the records are. So I want just to sum the city, which is equal to Mandalay. Um, concatenating it with this operation. So having done that, after doing that, I got this 5,057.032. That's it, sir.
Okay. So let's quickly do the same for average. So let's say we want to answer an average question. So that same question, but we will just convert it to using the average function. So the second task is, so let's say application of average function for single analysis. For single analysis. So what is the question? Single criteria. Let me watch it out. What is the question? The question is, what is the total average gross? So like I said before, that one of sum, we are to do it for each of those cities. I believe that is what you did there, but because I just want to move on, I believe it's something you should do so that at the end of the day, you know which one has the highest generated income. So the company wants to know that because that will definitely assist them in making the right decision. To know which country they are to either employ more staff, the country they are to either do more awareness, that is promotions, so and all of that. So there are a lot of decisions that having the idea of how much each of these city generates will help them to take. So gross income for, let's say for Yagon also. So the syntax, I will create, I will say total underscore average underscore Yagon. Let me just update it to this. Equals to, I will reference the data set name, which is the same word, data one, concatenate the query function, and then the single string, the header still remain the same, the one with the criteria, which is city, where it is in your data set, equals to, then use double string to call the Yagon. Yagon, I think the first letter is capital letter. Then you have to select the column with the value to be added up. So recognize it as a string, which is the same gross income based on the question. So I'll just take it from here up to C. And then concatenate this time around the mean function, not the average. That's just the difference. If I run it, I get my result. Then I want to see the outcome, TO tab, and then get the results. So you can see this is the total average of all the gross of the generated gross income from Yagon. Now, if I want to do it for Mandalay, I'll just copy this entire code and paste.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
And with you, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask.
You said?
My question is this:
Okay.
is on this total average. I just wanted to ask, total average and average, what is the difference? Because for you to get an average, you need to get a total first. Do you understand me, sir?
Sorry, let me get you right. The
No,
total
I'm looking at this total you used to store this average here.
Yes.
So I mean, I wanted to know what's the difference between total average and average.
Okay, total
Because
average
for me
and
to
the
get,
average.
yes, because for me to get
total average and average, the differences. Is that what you're
yes,
asking?
yes, because for me to get an average, I need I need a total first.
Yes. Now, this is it here. The data itself has already computed the average. So what we are doing is that we are summing those average. That is why we are using the word total. For example, now, if I can just come here, this is the average. Okay, so this is an average from this particular one. This is another average, for example, now. From this, then the addition of the average is what we are referring to as what total average. So you have average which must have computed during the data entry. So that will have involved maybe a kind of calculation to get the average for each of those cities. So when we say total average, we are looking at the average, the average of the sum of all the average where sum of all the average for that particular city. Because if you look at the data set now, we have
Sorry, let me see
city
the.
repeated. They are categorical data. You have Yagon here, which must have generated one of the average. Then you have another Yagon here, which have also generated another average. So the sum of all the average from that particular city, since it's a repeated entity, is the total average.
Yeah. My question then is, if we are using this column now, you are talking, so that means gross income um will not be the column of consign.
So what would be the consign?
No, because you are based on what you are showing me, you are showing me, probably I didn't get the um because I'm not seeing like the headers here now. I'm not seeing where they calculated the average.
Okay, so what you are saying now is that you are looking for a scenario whereby there will be a header where you have a header label average instead of gross income. Is that what you are saying, if I will get you right?
Yes. That's my
You are
confusion now,
saying
because
that
already this one is telling us
we shouldn't talk
gross. This
about
is gross
average
income.
since we are working with a header that is labeled gross income. Or you are expecting to have maybe header.
What I'm just saying is, what I'm saying is, this place, the way you are storing this total average. So that is why I am asking, what is the difference between, because
Okay.
from this total of this income, we are now getting the average. Okay,
Yes, the average
so
of that gross
from
income.
this column, yeah, yes.
The
So my
the
question is,
values
why are we now
under
putting
it
the
is our
total
concern.
average?
Are you
Yes,
getting me?
yes,
The
yes,
values under
yes.
this now is what we are focusing on.
Correct.
So that is the.
Okay.
All right. So
All right.
okay, so I hope I'm still okay. So I wanted to do for let's say we want to do for counting or sum for that same criteria for Yagon so that we can compare. So here total average, sorry, for another city, which is Mandalay. So let me get the Mandalay from the data sets to avoid. So I'll take this. So I am saying that since we have calculated the sum of average of gross income for Yagon, let's also find out for Mandalay, and then also find out for the other cities. So the only thing I'm going to change is the place where I entered the name, the city name. So I'll just change here. And then of course I need to change here so that the object name will be different. So let's say what? Man. And then of course I have to recall this. But let me apply this first. So we get a result. And then let's see the outcome, which is the same total and So this is telling us that not a value. Let's see. Okay, because there was space before. So you can say for Mandalay, this is the total, this is the total average of the gross income. Then for Yagon, we got 14. So if you do for Napitor, you get a different value. Then after that, you now look at the value derived from each of them and be able to apply your observation and recommendations. So that is for that.
Okay, sorry. So, I mean, I was thinking that if I want to, yes, I am seeing that the average for Mandalay is 15 point something, and the average income for Yangon is 14 point something. So that means on the average, um, Mandalay is generating more income than Yangon City. So
Yes.
I think, don't you think that for proper, um, we should have a baseline, do you understand, of what we are using to do our comparison? So I'm thinking that probably before we begin to do this, we should get the total average of the income in all the city. Well, now say, okay, this is the average, this is the average income generated, you know, for this organization. So it will now be a yardstick for us to compare the other averages from other city. Does that make sense? Can we go in that direction?
No, what we are saying now is that there should be a benchmark.
Exactly.
So where would the
So
benchmark be fabricated from?
it's not about fabricating it based on the, what I'm saying is this. For instance, now we have I'm just asking though. We
We
have
have what
Yagon,
we have
we
this
have Yagon.
the average from Yagon, right?
Yes.
Then we have this
So
for Mandalay.
yes.
So
So
where would the
now
benchmark
what
come now?
what I'm saying is this: will it be right for us to look at this data now? We get the the average, the total average of this entire income, whether it's Yagon, Napito, or Mandalay. So when we get the this average, so we'll now get a one single average from the entire data. Then that will now form as a benchmark to say, okay, I'm asking whether it's correct.
Not
Just my
correct.
thought.
What you are saying now is not correct. Now, if you look at this here. There's a place where we're dealing with the general application. We did average here. We did average. We did average somewhere here. There is it. Let me see. Okay, we did average without condition, which was the total average from all the gross income generated from all the cities. We did that. This is it here. Are you following? So this
Yes.
is it here. So now, if you are saying that we're talking about benchmark, this should act as even the benchmark of the average from all, out of which you are now beginning to do for each of the city. That is what we are doing here now for each of the city.
Yes.
I don't know if you get my.
Yeah. That is the question I'm asking. That is what I'm asking. Because
Uh-huh.
for instance now, you know, when you are talking about population, can you hear me? When you're talking about population and we say, okay, the average death in Delta State, the average infancy death in Delta State is um, maybe um, so percentage. Okay, so based on the average infancy death in Delta State,
You know, because before they get up to that, they have summed the whole thing. And so we'll now look at, okay, Asaba. So, and we say, okay, the average infancy death rate there is more than the average distant in data. I don't know. That is just the angle I'm coming from. Would it be
Well,
right to
I
do
think
same?
what we are saying now is not really different from what we have analyzed so far. We got the total average from all the what gross income from all the city where we have not started defining condition. Now, which is equivalent to what you just mentioned now. Now, the one you mentioned now is okay, you want to get the average of infant death in Asaba. That means you have now beginning to focus on a particular city out of the whole Delta state.
Yes.
So that is just like what we say like Yagon now. We can say that, okay, Yagon is just like, I'm just talking based on the scenario you are using. So the Yagon can be like Asaba. The Mandalay can be another city. So except maybe if I'm not getting your question, because everything from one
No,
side,
no, no. Hello,
I think
sir.
that we are in
You
line
got
with what you are
you.
saying.
Yeah, because what I'm asking, I don't know that you have gotten. What I'm saying is,
No, we have done that.
you have gotten the sum, the total average. What I'm saying, will it be right to you to use that average, the total average, you know, as a benchmark to compare these other averages in other cities? That's just my question.
Okay, so now I think what we are saying is that will it be right to compare this average, for example, now this with
Yes,
with
the total average. So
yes,
since it's less than this, we can say, okay, these people are not doing well.
yeah, yes, of course, that room for
That's just
conversation.
that's the question I'm asking.
Yes, that is what we. That's why I said it is right because when you do total average, that one is from all of them first. Then you are not taking on each of them. Definitely, you end up comparing that one with the total. So that you know the percentage of that one in that total. Is that not what you're saying?
Yes.
So that is it now. So what we are doing here now is, as I say, it aligned with it is right. If I'm to answer your question straight away, it's right. In fact, it is very right because if you don't do that, how will you not know? How will you be able to write your recommendation or your observation? Because recommendation will come in, and your recommendation will be based on how you have perceived that one is doing better than the other. Probably there are drugs that need to be, distributed, or something need to be shared. So from the average of probably their last events, will determine which direction they are to go more for. I think that is correct. It's correct. It's something that should be done. So let's look at the we have done for sum, we have done for average. Then let's also do for counting, just like the way we did for the general application. So if we are to answer a question of, when we do the counting, then the counting for all the entry, I think was 1,000. Now, out of that 1,000, we want to know the number of entries or transactions for each of the city. So you can see that, like you asked now, the benchmark now is the 100, that is 1,000. Out of that 1,000, we want to know the percentage of the counting for each of the city. So let's say application of I think I would say single criteria counting. So, and the question is, what is the total counting for, let's say, Yagon? So the syntax is going to be, let me just say, count total
count total diagonal is equals to, remember we call the data set data one, concatenate it with the function query, then open your single string. Then we are using the same city as the header with the criteria for the county equals to. To find the criteria with double quotes, which is same jargon. And then we have to select one of the header that will be used as the criteria for the counting. So let's say we are still using the gross income. Let's say we are still using the gross income. And then we are using count function. We're using count function. So, sorry. So we have, let me delete this. To see the results, let's simply call the variable name. So you can see that we have 340 as against what? The total 1,000. So within that 1,000, Diagons only has 340. So like I said, most time when you have such categorical data, you don't just show them the statistics of one. You do for the remaining one, do for the remaining two, and then be able to come to a conclusion that, okay, this one did better than this. And then probably, if one is badly performing, then you can now recommend what they can do to improve on it. So do you understand that? I hope it's clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so that brings us to the end of the single criteria. So we'll now look at the last aspect of it, which is for multiple criteria. But before that, I would like to see what you have done there, or if you have not started answering this one. So I want to give you 10 minutes to attend to them before we look at the last aspect, which is using the same function, but this time around, we will go beyond just one criterion. So you can share your screen. Let me see what you have done or what you can do with them.
Okay. All right. So we want to get the total count of from the city called Mandalay. So we are storing it under total count underscore total underscore Mandalay. So this is a data frame. This is a data frame. The data in question we are calling it from, and the query is one city. City is the header, the column header that has the different cities. So we just want to count the city that is equal to Mandalay. Okay. So we concatenate it with the count function here. So I run it. So I want to get the the results displayed. So for me to do that, I will, oh, sorry. There was a little mistake there, so let me restore it. Count underscore to So I want to get the result. That's called total underscore and that. Okay. Sorry, I think there was issue. Yeah, there's a problem. Let me try and sort it out. I think when I did that, deleted those things because there's no how it's going to give me 0. So delete data sets. Okay. Let's read this way. Ah, okay. Yeah. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So I've gotten it because it was giving me 0.
Okay.
It was as a result of the space that was here. So it was giving me 0. So when I
All right.
remove it, it now give me 332.
Okay, go ahead. Is that all? I think that is the last one, right? Okay, you still want to
No,
go to the other country, other city, right?
yes, Napito. So I want to do for Napito. So I've done for Napito, so it's giving me 328. So I believe that when you add this 328, 332, and 340, it will give you the total population of the data set, which is 1,000.
So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
which one is doing better? Which of the city? I think it should be Mandalay.
Yeah, go.
Yagon, okay.
Yagon.
All right. Okay, so let's continue. Let's continue. So we are looking at the last aspect of this particular section, which is aggregating with multiple criteria. You know, the one we just ended now is with one criteria. We started with no criteria to single criteria, now to unlimited number of criteria. So how do we use this same set of a function to perform such analysis? So let me title it as aggregating with multi criteria. So the first question we are going to use we are going to use the and. We are going to use the and. Let me just show you what we are saying to define multiple criteria. So now let's look at a valid analysis question that can actually lead to this kind of task. So let's say the question is analyze the total gross for Yagon. Total gross income for Yagon. Total gross income for Yagon, where total. So I know we have one of the header there called total, where total is greater than, let me check the value of total that we have there. So let me just quickly call back the data set just to enable me to know. Where total is greater than 500, greater than 500. So let's look at that. Where total is greater than 500. So you can see that the question has two different criteria. The first criteria for the calculation of the sum of gross income is based on selection of Yagon City. Now, even after you have selected Yagon City, you still have to consider the values under total header that are greater than that value, that is the 500. They are the only set of values that we need their total, we need their summation. So to answer this kind of question, your syntax is going to be start by acknowledging the name, where the name of the data object, where the result will be stored. So let's assume that, let me just use total gross. Let's say I'm using total gross. So the same thing, we'll reference the name of the data, which is data 1, then concatenate it with the function query, and then open the bracket, single string, the header with the first criteria. The header with the first criteria is city, and the criteria is Yagon. That is all for this. Then you come outside the double string. You are still inside the single string. You now put and then you call the header with the second criteria, which is total, the way it is in the data set. I hope I'm correct. Now, but we are considering
another operator, not equals to, because we said what? Select record equals to Yagon, where the total is greater than and the sum of their value. So we'll now bring in the greater than sign, and then because it is a number or integer, we don't need to quote it. So I will just say what? Let's say 500. Okay, so that is going to be a criteria for the selection. But let me confirm if that is accepted first before we bring in the calculation. Okay, so that is taken. So now that that is taken, the next thing is for us to select the particular header that the values that are expected to be summed up are in, which is the same gross income. So let me take it from here. Control C, and then I will paste it here. Then which of the aggregate function do I want to use? I'm using what? Sum. Okay, so this is the simple syntax you need when the question go beyond one criteria. The only thing you'll be adding, once you are done with the definition of the header with the first criteria and the criteria itself, then you come outside that double string, put your and. If I also want to select it based on another criteria, I will come outside. I will just come here and then space and put what and, call that third criteria header and then the criteria. So you continue like that. It does not have and depending on where you want to stop. So let me run it and see if I have an output. So to see the output, I will just call the data object, and then you get the result. So this is the sum of gross income for Yagot, where total value is greater than 500. You understand that, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so just kindly perform it because we have few of them to consider before we end. So it means that next Saturday we'll be rounding up Python. We'll just focus on data visualization, that is graph. So let me give you 5 minutes to implement this also before I proceed. So you can go ahead and share your screen and be explaining what you are doing.
Right.
Go ahead and share your screen, sir. Is it coming up? So tell us what you are doing, please.
Okay. I want to do for Mandela. So I want to get the values that are under the city Mandela that is greater than 500. So I'll first of all by storing it under um, say return dash Mandalay. So here using this is the data set where we are performing getting all the this is the name of the data frame data set. So this is the query city equal to Mandela. So just hold on. I want to see the way. Okay, so it's in capital letter. So I copy it from here. Mandela. Control C. Paste it here. Control V. So run it. I want to see the result now. Okay. Control V. So it's giving me, yeah, the total greater than 500 is this amount. That is what it's giving me.
All right. All right, so I think you have gotten it. So let me check. I think you are correct. You want to do for the rest? You still want to try for one more variable?
Okay.
Let's try for one more variable because we have the last one that will bring us to the end of this section. So
Okay, so
we are allowed to do more classroom.
all right. So let's do for Mandalay. Sorry, Napitor. Let's do for Napitor. So this time around, I want to do less than for Napitor. Yeah, pick it. See. See. Then it's a less than. I change the sign. I change the sign to less than. I don't need. It's the. I want to see the display of the results. Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, so let me just round up. I think I'll give you an assignment to go and work on the different data sets to perform all these analysis and come up with concrete observations and recommendation where needed. Okay, so the last one is one that I found very, very interesting. Now, you see, instead of like you are doing over there, you are performing this analysis individually. We did for.
Sorry, sir. Just hello, sir. Give me a minute, sir. A minute, sir.
Okay. Okay, so this is the last one. So I was trying to explain something to us why you should consider this instead of taking it one after the other. Now, what we did here was we're trying to calculate or to analyze the sum of gross income for each of the city where total value is greater than 500. Now, you did that, and then if the company also wants you to do for Mandalay and also want to do for Napitor, it means that you have to take them one after the other. So we can actually use a grouping function to analyze all of them at once. But then we'll be using a different function, not query. We'll be using a group function. So let me title it multiple aggregation. Analysis with dot group. So this is going to be the function group by function. So this is used for analyzing multiple variable at once. So the question we want to answer here with the function is what is the total gross per city. So that is, we get the Yangon own, we get the one of Mandalay and Napitor at the same time, not performing them separately. So the syntax will be, I want that to be stored in a different variable. Let's say group by underscore analysis. So it's going to be equals to the name of the data set, which is data one. All right, data one, then concatenate it with the group function. Say group by, say, function. Now, this function, you have to specify the criteria header. So there must be a particular header that its unique variable will be listed and summarize the gross income value against. So if you look at the question says, what is the total gross income? Let me add it. What is the total gross income per city? So the header in this case that we have as the criteria is the city. In other words, the value in city, the unique values in city will be mentioned. And then the summary of the value under gross income that align with each of those mentioned city will be what will now be aggregated. So now here we bring in an attribute called by. So that by is just for us to pick that particular header that we use as the criteria for the summation. So we reference the header there, which is city, the way it is in your data set. Now you will now concatenate. You have to select the header
with 2 square brackets because we are going multiple. Now, inside the inner square bracket is to define the header with the values that will be added because the command sum can only add number. Okay, so that is going to be the gross income, So I'll take a copy and then paste. So what we have said so far is that pick the value here and then summarize the values under what gross income against the unique values here. Now we need to attach the function, either count or sum or average. Any of them is allowed. So let's do for sum first. So if I run it, answer generated and what stored here. So to see the results, I'll simply call the group, which is this, and then run it. So you can see what happened. It brought out what the unique value of variable in city and aggregate. So if you check the analysis you did for when you were applying for each of them, you will notice that what they are the same. When you did for sum, let me go to where I did for sum for only Yagon and compare it to what I'm getting. This is where I did for sum for only Yagon. Now, if I go to where I use group, you can see that what it tallies. Is it clear, sir? So this is faster when you want to do group analysis at once. I hope that is clear. Hello, sir. Is that clear?
Sorry, it's clear, but I want to ask, can you run me through the query again? At this point, is this particular query now, is it sensitive to double quote and single quote?
Are you talking about here?
Yeah, this last year. Yes, from this place, from the city. Yeah.
From here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I should just explain again, or
Yes, explain. And I want to know whether it is sensitive to double quote or single quotes, or
yes,
if I use any of them, will it work?
double quotation. Yes, it should be double quotation, but I guess if you use single one, it will also work. So, but you can try it where the single did not work. Then I think the single should also work. But if it doesn't work, just use the one that works. So what we did here is that this is the name of my data set. The data object that is expected to hold the output. That here is the name of the data set in which we have city as the criteria header for the summary of the values under what? Gross income. So what we did here is that here I use a single or a square bracket, and here I use double square brackets, and then I use the inner one to define the criteria header with the values that will be summarized with this function.
Okay.
I hope that is clear.
Yes, please, it's clear.
So at times, depending on the version you are using, if you use just single one like this, it might work for you. So let's check it. You see that that still works. So I just added it because I've observed from time that when you are using some Anaconda version, it throws error where you do not put double square brackets. So in case it happens like that, you put square brackets. That's double. So like I said, now there is an observation here. You can see that this particular header here this value does not have a descriptive header. We have city telling us what exactly these values are, but we don't have header. So to do that, what you are going to do is to just add, either you add it here, you can add it here, you can just come here and say dot, reset, I believe we have discussed something like this, reset underscore index, and then you run it. So you see that will display it properly. That will now call out the header instead of just displaying the gross income value without outlining their label. I hope that is clear, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so we can use this same function if I want to do for counting Control C, and then let's say because you need to do for all of them so that you can write your conclusion. So let's say I come here and let me copy it again. Control C to V. So I can just change here to let me add S here. Let me add S just to differentiate it. So what I'm going to do is just to change this to count. You have to change this to count. You can also change it to mean. So you can see that will give you the what? The group counting. So if you also change it to mean, that will give you the group average. So this is the end of this particular phase of data analysis with Python, which is titled aggregate analysis using Python aggregate functions. We have looked at them in different levels. We started without specification of even a single any criteria. Then we advanced to single criteria and then multiple criteria, and then using this group method as an alternative where you want to make your work faster instead of taking them one after the other. So if you don't have any question, this is where we are going to stop. So the next class, we are going to conclude the entire Python analysis with the data visualization. So this report that we have generated now, in our next class, we are going to represent it with graph so that we will know which one is trending easily instead of using this tabular method. Any question?
Question, sir.
You said
No question, no.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your assignment, please take note of your assignment. Your assignment is to get a different data set, then determine what to analyze with all the functions. So there should be an entire notebook dedicated just for performing all the aggregates analysis we have done so far, and make sure that you outline your observations and your recommendation with PowerPoint. That is your final report. So you also present it just like you did before we commence this session. So I hope you have gotten the assignments.
Yes, please. But
Okay.
finally, before we go there,
Okay.
now, if you look at this data, my question is,
Maybe you should share
I
your
want
screen
to.
so that you can show me what you are saying, or is it on my
Okay. Okay. The question is this, sir. Now, you know, this line now, this product line, I won't be able to do much with it because of the separation between this product and line. So it's either I close it up or I use underscore. I can do this. Now my question is this: if, for instance, I want to perform my analysis, I want to look at health and beauty. I want to get yes, I want to get the add-on city. I want to get the income, gross income generated by this product. So that means I would need to close up. Do I need to close up because this is head and head? In between head, there is a space and there is a space. So does it mean I'm going to close up all these
No,
columns?
I think I have gotten what
Okay.
you are saying, sir. Now, where Python have issue is not having words with space in the data body. Python
Okay,
only
just
has
in the
to issue
header.
on the header. The header.
Okay.
So
Okay.
once you want to perform, for example, electronic accessory, just copy it and put it in double quotes. It's a string. Python will not throw error. It's only on the
Okay,
header.
provided this header,
Only
I
the
have
header. Yes.
done the needful to this
Yes.
header. Okay. That's it. That's the question I want
All
to
right.
ask. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much, sir, for your consistency. At least you have been the most serious students. You always join on time. You keep to time, which is a very good encouragement. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah, you too, sir. Bye.